Welcome to the Cohn Zone. We're Grant and Lowell. I'm Grant, and I just had my first big scoop as a sports writer. An hour ago, I reported that the 49ers will announce a 6-year contract extension for George Kittle on Friday, which will keep him on the 49ers through 2026. It'll pay him $94.8 million. Half of that will be guaranteed. He'll get a $25 million signing bonus, and he'll be relatively cheap early on in the contract. What do you think of that, Dad?
Well, let's be real clear on this because we're journalists. You have it from a source.
A well-placed source.
Well-placed source. It hasn't happened yet, but it seems likely to happen. And the reason I emphasize that is sources can be wrong, as we know. I don't think this source is wrong, by the way. And funny things can happen. There can be a disagreement. There can be a falling out. But I feel you're 99.9% onto this one, and it's very exciting. I guess for you, I have a question because you're much more up on this than I am. What do you think, if you're right, and I think you are right, in fact, Michael Silver came out on Twitter and essentially said you're right. And
right.
And
2 days ago, he said there was no 2 days ago, he said there was no progress happening between the Niners and Kittle on this front. And now he's, after reading my report and essentially getting back to Becta, he reported that they are making significant progress as of the last 2 days.
We assume he got back to Becta.
I assume he got back to Becta.
We haven't talked to Michael.
Right.
So you seem to have an endorsement from Michael, who I respect tremendously. He preceded me at the Press Democrat, wonderful columnist and a really important writer, and someone I've known since he was young. Haven't been young in a long time. He's a great guy. What I want to ask you is, what do you think of the deal from Kittle's point of view and from the team's point of view?
I think it's a tremendously fair compromise for both sides. I mean, Kittle essentially, I think, wanted to get high dollars per year. He wanted to get paid like Eric Armstead or a wide receiver like Amari Cooper and get maybe $17 million a year. And the Niners didn't have to give him that because he's a tight end and tight ends make less money. So 15.8 seems like a nice sweet spot in the middle, more than your average tight end, but less than your best wide receiver. And then where they made it up to him is giving him a 6-year deal, which shows that he wants to be on the 49ers long-term, and giving him a lot of guaranteed money. A lot of times in football, they'll give a guy all kind of money and say he's getting $135 million, but really only like $10 million is guaranteed. And they can cut you after 2 years. So it seems like what they did was they rewarded him for being the 7th best player in the league, for being a captain and an all-pro, by guaranteeing 50% of his deal, which is more than they guaranteed for Eric Armstead or Dee Ford. So it seems like a fair deal. It protects the 49ers, and it gives George Kittle long-term security that he earned.
In addition, it makes him the highest paid, if I'm right, tight end in the history of the league.
By far.
By far. So I think it's a pretty good deal. It's a good deal for him. I mean, come on. Yeah. And when you're arguing about parts of a million, I'd like to have his deal. I'd like to have $1 million. So yeah. I think he's doing great. And for the Niners, it's effective in certain ways. They keep him. Yes. I mean, what an asset. A great player in a million ways, and from what I understand from you, a good guy. And it shows the locker room we pay for quality.
Yeah, it's a very bad precedent to set for the 49ers. They just traded DeForest Buckner, who was an all-pro team captain, one of the guys that you show the rest of the young players and be like, you want to be like this. You want to achieve all of this. And they traded him. If they trade Kittle too, then they'd set a precedent that for all the young players, if you do everything right, if you're a great player and you become a captain and an all-pro, we'll trade you. We will not take care of you.
Right. It means they would be the Oakland A's.
Yes. That like to have a long-term future with the Niners, you have to be like a B+ player, not an A player. And that's the reputation the A's have had for 20 years. The Niners don't want that reputation. So it's imperative that they sign this guy.
From their point of view, it's really, really good business in a million ways that they did this. And I want to praise them. I want to praise Jed and Parag and John Lynch and the coach Shanahan. They deserve, if you're correct, and I'd almost bet the mortgage that you're correct, wonderful all around. Now,
I want to say real quick, George Kittle did just write on Twitter and say, in reference to this report, you guys will believe anything you read on the internet, which is an interesting thing to say because it's not a denial. It's basically a no comment.
It's absolutely a no comment. He didn't say Grant is full of beans. He knows you. He could have said that. You'll believe anything you'll read on the internet. Well, it means I have nothing to say at this time. I guess my agent wants a national writer, maybe Adam, to, a good guy, maybe Adam to break
maybe
the
Mike
news.
Silver.
Or Michael Silver. But you know what? Grant did. And I got to say, let's move on. How did this, we'll call it a scoop, and I think a momentous scoop. How did it come about, Iggy?
Okay, this is a great question. So a few weeks ago, before the Niners signed Jordan Reed, I got a text saying, look,
from a well-placed
source saying, look, the Niners are going to sign Jordan Reed. You need to call his agent and break the story. I'm handing it to you. Break it. It's a big one. And I said, thanks. And I didn't call the agent because I was like, who gives a scoop away? And this guy must be full of it. He must be full of beans. So not only was he right, but he even called the day that he was going to get signed. He's going to get signed on whatever, it was a Thursday. He got signed on a Thursday. So I felt really dumb for letting that go by. You never get a scoop handed to you, and I let it go. I let it slip through my fingers. Last night, same guy texted me and said, hey, man, I know you didn't go with the Jordan Reed thing, but I'm telling you, it's going to get announced Friday. Here are the parameters. Here's the amount of money. Here's how much per year. Here's the signing bonus, the guaranteed money. Do what you want with it. So I was like, I can't let this go twice. He was right the first time. I'm going to trust him. If he's wrong, say la vie, but I'm going with it.
Okay. You never tell who your source is, so you don't even tell what line of business he's in.
Nope.
You're just a well-placed source. I got some questions.
Sure.
Why do you think he selected you? There were other people on that beat.
I don't know. We go back. We like each other, and I think he wanted, if it was going to be someone, he wanted it to be me. I don't know why.
I would also say, God love the press Democrat, but when you're working for SI, all of a sudden people call you.
Good point. Good point. Yeah.
You're working for SI.
Yeah.
And I think it's phenomenal.
Yeah.
Now, there is another important matter to discuss. Wine.
Oh, yeah. See, it's a very good day for me, except for this.
Yeah.
We made a bet. We made a bet 2 weeks ago, and I was very strongly said that George Kittle is not going to sign an extension before the season starts. You laughed in my face and said, son, you just don't know how this world works. So let's bet on it. At least a $40 bottle. If I'm right and I get this scoop and I have to pay up, I will give you a $60 bottle of California Pinot. And the stipulation was no Russian River, even though we like Russian River. This time we're trying to go for the earthier varieties. So
yeah, the Russian River is very sweet, and it doesn't really, for me personally, go with food as well. I like in California, I like the Santa Barbara stuff, the Santa Rita Hills over there, and I like Anderson Valley, and I like Willamette Valley up in Oregon. But listen, I'm not counting the wine yet. Don't buy the wine yet. Who knows what's going to happen? It could turn out that I'm buying you, and I'll buy you. Listen, $40 is okay, guy. You don't have to go to 60. But anyway, I'm not going to rub it in. But if you're right on the story, I'm right on Kittle. And here's my reasoning. I don't think that Jed York is suicidal.
Right.
Now, he's been virtually suicidal a few times in the past with Harbaugh. And but I think he's grown out of his quote unquote suicidal mode. I didn't see in a million years that they would let Kittle go. And I didn't think Kittle or Becta would hold the Niners' feet to the fire for $1 million or so. It didn't make, like, to get 17. It didn't make any sense to me.
Right. And he's in a position where as soon as he says yes, he gets a $25 million signing bonus check. How do you put that on?
Right.
Yeah.
So, okay.
Fair enough. Okay. Well, you taught me, Dad. You have wisdom. I appreciate it.
Occasionally.